We're about 5 months into this new console generation, and like the last generation, it's going to take a couple months for some great exclusives to get out the door. But the PS4 and the Xbox One both saw their first big exclusives in Titanfall, which I reviewed, and Infamous Second Son. I've had my PS4 for several months now, and I owned 3 games for it: Assassin's Creed 4, Battlefield 4, and Injustice. I don't even have to tell you that none of these games are exclusive to the PS4, and even then they're all games you can find on last generation consoles. But really, no next-gen launch titles stood out to me, except maybe for Killer Instinct, which I could just mooch off of somebody else's Xbox since it is free. But Infamous Second Son is what made me make the decision to buy the PS4. I was a huge fan of the original Infamous games on the PS3, mainly because they were just right up my alley, and I was ecstatic to hear that Infamous was one of the first games to be released for the PS4. So does this game live up to the hype, or is it a huge disappointment? Let's find out. So we open the game with the main character Delsin, not Desmond, spraying graffiti on the roof of a building. The weird thing is that you spray the graffiti on yourself, turn your controller sideways, shake it, and move it around to spray. I think that's pretty cool. Over the next few minutes, we meet Delsin's brother Reggie, who's also a cop. Out of nowhere, an escaped conduit, which, for anyone who hasn't played the others, is someone with superpowers, runs into them. The convict is revealed to have the power of smoke, and after Delsin grabs his hand, he himself gets these powers. He rescues his brother, hunts down the convict, only to run into the antagonist of the game, Augustine. She threatens Delsin and uses her concrete powers to knock him out for 2 weeks. He wakes up to realize that Augustine tortured many people in his village, and unless someone with concrete powers heals them, they will all die. Delsin also figures out that he has a fast healing ability, which explains why the concrete didn't hurt him as badly. So Delsin and his brother decide to go to Seattle to confront Augustine to save his village. From there, the story kinda dulls out. I will say that the dynamic choices of whether to be good or evil is a nice touch, however. It feels like these choices actually matter within the game, and the way you play determines if you are hero and villain as well.
I'm a conduit.
What?
Delsin's character is interesting as he sees himself a triumphant hero at first while everyone else is scared of him, but every character surrounding him is totally uninteresting. Especially Reggie, who acts like a jerk throughout the entire game.
It's a miracle you are even still alive. I mean, please, can't we just quit while you're ahead for once?
Now, I'm not saying the stories of the first 2 games were masterpieces or anything like that. In fact, I couldn't give you the full synopsis of Infamous 2 without leaving something major out. But some story decisions just make no sense. Later in the game, Delsin meets this girl that he fights and defeats. He then decides that he wants her to work with him. Within one mission, they are best friends, and there's already a romantic tension between them. I thought I missed a major cutscene where they talked for the first time, kinda got to know each other, but their first conversation sounds like they've known each other for quite a while.
I already bagged my dealer limit today, so why the hell not?
There's my sweet.
Screw you.
Anyway, that's enough about the story, because the gameplay is really where Second Son shines. Delsin's smoke powers are incredibly fun and easy to use, just as Cole's were in the originals. A few powers are reused and redone from electricity to smoke, but there are some great new powers such as the teleport dash thing. Some of the controls have changed as well, like hovering being activated by the X button rather than R1, and draining elements being moved to the giant touchpad in the center of the controller, which also acts as a button in case you didn't know. Speaking of the touchpad, several additions to the game involve the use of the PS4's new features, as I said before with the spray can thing. You can also free prisoners by swiping the touchpad, and you can pick up these generator things by swiping up and holding up. When someone calls Delsin's cell phone, the ringtone will play through your controller, which is pretty cool. None of these additions feel forced, and I wasn't bothered by them one bit. Going back to powers, smoke is not the only power Delsin gets. Delsin's true conduit ability is the ability to take other conduits' powers, so in addition to smoke, he later gets neon. I wasn't entirely sure what to feel about this at first, but I'll admit I love the neon powers even more than smoke. The only thing that bugs me is the fact that I don't really see neon as a harmful power. I mean, electricity would be painful, smoke would hurt pretty badly, but neon? As I was saying before, I love the neon powers. They allow you to climb walls so you don't have to use these vents to travel up things. You can also run super fast. Now, neon and smoke aren't the only powers Delsin gets. Over the course of the game, he gets more that I won't spoil for you. I will just tell you that they are equally as awesome as smoke and neon. While the gameplay is easily the best part of the game, the city of Seattle is the second best part. The city feels alive and there are plenty of things to do to keep you busy here. When you start, the city is entirely controlled by the DUP, which are Augustine's thugs with concrete powers. These guys aren't too hard to kill, but it is nice seeing some variety by not having them just shoot guns throughout the entire game. Some of the enemies and bosses can actually be pretty tough to kill, especially the auto turrets, which are easily the toughest enemy in the entire game. The DUP's stations are also fully destructible, which makes destroying them so much fun. Each DUP area also has some stuff for you to destroy, including hidden cameras, RVs, and satellites. On the map there's a nice little checklist of sorts that tells you how much of something you have to do in each area. There are drug-busting prisoners to free for the good guys, and street musicians and sign twirlers to kill for the bad guys. I had way more fun roaming the streets messing around than I did in any story mission. As to whether or not that's a good thing is totally up to your preference. There are also plenty of side missions here to keep you busy. The graphics are absolutely incredible. These are easily the most detailed and realistic character models anyone has ever put into any video game, ever. The voice acting is top-notch as well, with the voice actors being mocap for added realism. The environments are breathtaking at times and put the almost colorless Infamous 2 to shame in comparison. This game is absolutely packed with color. The game also plays pretty well on the Vito's Remote Play, which I actually use quite often. The music is also a lot better, as Infamous 2 I felt was heavily lacking in music. I will admit that I only played through this game as a hero, but I'm definitely going to play through it again as a villain on Expert Mode to get the Platinum Trophy, as this Platinum Trophy is pretty easy to get. Infamous Second Son is not a game for everybody, however. If you're thinking if you want to try it out or not, I say pick up the first one for the PS3. You can find it for a pretty cheap price. For me, however, Infamous Second Son is worth $50. I just can't quite get it to $60 because of the lackluster story. While I don't think it's a system seller, it's definitely a game worth checking out, especially if it's something you like. With that said, this is a great first exclusive for the PS4, and I look forward to many more of these games in the future. By the way, before I end the video, I wanted to talk about my network. Now, as some of you may know, I've been working the past 9 months or so with Fullscreen, and the Fullscreen Arcade mainly, because I am a gaming channel after all. If you didn't know, Fullscreen has now bought Screw Attack, the website, and now they are in control of the Fullscreen Arcade. This means I'm now officially a member of the Screw Attack network. What does this mean for you? Not a ton, but I will tell you that me and other content creators' stuff is being featured on ScrewAttack.com. I'll also be given some amazing perks so I can make even better content for you guys. I've been watching Screw Attack for years, and it's nice to finally work with somebody who I'm very familiar with. So with that said, I'm very excited to be working with the Screw Attack network. Why'd I do that? I'll also be given some amazing perks